Governmental Committee for Monday, June 7th, 2010. First item on the agenda, we need to approve some minutes from our May meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes as mailed out.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, to move on to first item of new business, announce 2 vacancies on the Community Care Board. Ms. Frankie Johnson and Mr. Mike Nunley have terms that are expiring there. Next item, we need to announce 6 vacancies on the Board of Health. Dr. Dennis Carter, Dr. James Garner, Dr. Ronald Wright, Chad Mills, Judy Campbell, and Dr. John Key have terms that are expiring on the Board of Health. So we have 6 vacancies there we need to fill. Next item on the agenda, we have 2 vacancies to fill on the Linebaugh Library Board. And to that end, we have received applications from correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Melissa Weatherford Beatty. She's a resident of District 9. She has served on the board already on the Linebaugh Library Board for 3 years. So this would be a reappointment for her. Ms. Beatty here tonight?
She's out of state, son wedding.
Okay. And we have application from Miss Marilyn Castelli. She's a resident, I believe, of Commissioner Bullen's district, and she has served on the board for 3 years. This again would be a reappointment for her. We have an application from Mr. Daniel Lynn Graves. This would be a new applicant. And we have an application from Mr. Jared Barrett, a resident of District 13, and he too would be a new applicant. I know Mr. Barrett is here tonight. So we have, it looks like 4 applicants. At this time, what we traditionally do is give the applicants an opportunity to address the committee with any comments that they might have. So we will go in order. Ms. Beatty's out of town. Ms. Castelli? She's out of town?
I'm no longer director, so I'm here on their behalf.
Okay. And Mr. Graves? Okay. Mr. Barrett, then you are our sole representative here of the applicants.
Good evening. I just figured I'd make myself available to serve on the library board, and I know there's people that have already served and they're reappointed, asking for reappointment, but I ask that you consider myself also. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Any questions for Mr. Barrett? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Al Cole and select 2.
All right. Second. We have a motion and a second.
Maybe Ms. Shacklett would like to say something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I know, Ms. Shacklett, we have a letter from the Linebaugh Library Board of Directors concerning the vacancies before we vote, so that's part of our agenda materials. It says the Linebaugh Library Board of Directors asks that I contact you concerning the renewal of Melissa Beatty's and Marilyn Castelli's terms on the County Library Board. Ms. Beatty and Ms. Castelli are reapplying to serve another 3-year term. At the regular meeting April 19, the Board of Directors voted to endorse Melissa Beatty's and Marilyn Castelli's continued service as board members. Thank you for consideration. Signed, Rita Shacklett. Ms. Shacklett, anything you'd like to add?
Other than one of the reasons we'd like to be reappointed, other than that they are good board members, but Ms. Castelli has agreed to be vice chair for the next term, and Ms. Beatty is the chair of the Development and Acquisitions Committee. So they hold valuable spots at this point.
right, well, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions, discussion? Okay. All right, then Becky, if you would call the roll.
Commissioner Black,
Ms. Bailey, Ms.
Commissioner Coggin,
Beatty and Costelli.
Commissioner Farley,
Ms. Beatty, Ms. Costelli,
Commissioner Jordan,
Beatty and Barrett.
Commissioner Phillips,
Beatty, Costelli.
Commissioner Sandlin,
Ms. Beatty and Ms. Costelli.
Commissioner Rogers.
Beatty and Costelli. All right. Looks like Ms. Beatty and Ms. Costelli then will be referred, recommended to the full commission for approval and reappointment to the board of the Limeball Library at our next regular meeting, which is on June 17th. Thank you, Ms. Shackle. Appreciate you being here. Mr. Barrett, I know you've been here before, and again, I know we tell you this, we certainly appreciate your interest in it. We're going to find a spot for you somewhere. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, next item on the agenda is a litter ordinance. I believe this is hopefully Mayor Burgess's item.
Our able assistant Becky probably knows more about this than I. I believe she's distributed to you a first draft of our proposed anti-litter resolution. I really think, since this is pretty complicated, Mr. Chairman, and this group really probably, I think you ought to give them at least between now and next meeting time just to review this. And it's so complex in some respects. It took a bit of time for our county attorney even to prepare this, and I'd like to suggest that we allow Mr. Rogers just to read some of the background information about fines and penalties. That it's really problematic, and they had to do a lot of research on how to even structure this. You can notice here that only we have civil penalties that are allowed in this proposed resolution of up to, I think, $50 per occurrence. But I think it'd be wise to let another attorney sort of review this to be sure that we haven't missed something in the application of what we're trying to accomplish. This came forward from the Public Works Committee, and they have instructed me to work with the county attorney to devise this anti-litter ordinance, primarily because of, I believe, not mail, not newspapers, but other solicitations from various kinds of entities that more or less advertising, whatever, were littering up some of our driveways and some of our properties, and they wanted this addressed. Now, this addresses that, plus it also addresses a piece of property that's just littered as well. In other words, we've made it even a bit broader than just what they requested so that we can cover some of this. And there's conflicting information between what's in the statute versus what's been already litigated in court, et cetera, in some other locations. And it's a bit complex for you probably to even grasp all of this. And I'm not sure I'm equipped to properly explain the difficulties and the nuances of it. But so that's just sort of what I suggest as there's no urgency about us doing this right today, but I think you deserve to read this several pages of this proposed ordinance. When I first envisioned this, I was thinking about a single one page or so, but you can't do it in this. It's so complex within the state law and with what's already happened in some courts in Chattanooga in particular, that they've had to do this and be very specific. So that's my recommendation to you, Mr. Chairman, and you guys can...
Wouldn't this go into our zoning ordinance, or would this be basically just be by itself in the building codes department as far as enforcement powers?
Yeah, it would just be a separate ordinance, standalone. This has a lot of flexibility on who can enforce this. It could be building codes, it could be anybody else. We do have a lot of flexibility there, but that would be the most likely source, of course. But it's not that specific in here, but it says that any basically authorized agent of the county can enforce this, okay?
I know it's on our agenda, but we'll talk about it in a minute. We're coming back in July or actually August, I guess, the last of, I don't know, we'll figure that out. But you're saying just review it and then come back with
Just
some...
give this out as a piece of information for you to study, review carefully, and develop your questions, and then let the chairperson in particular review this, along with some comments that I have here from the county attorney's office, and then maybe he could give us some leadership and advice as we go forward. Okay?
You gonna say anything at this point? You don't, no? Well, I do have one question. Well, there's a lot here.
Yes, sir.
You're exactly right. I wouldn't even ask this question since you just kind of alluded to it. There's 4 or 5 newspapers are distributed. Wall Street Journal, Tennessean, USA Today, Harrisburg Post, Daily News Journal. This does not apply to them?
Well, you see we have a lot of definitions here.
Right.
And we got newspapers. It defines what a newspaper is, okay? And all those you just listed is a newspaper, okay?
Yes, they're all delivered to driveway.
And newspapers won't be put categorically into the litter classification as far as violating a principle, whereas a handbill would be, okay? I haven't read this again today carefully to properly answer that question truly, Commissioner, but that's might take me but a minute to see what that says.
You know, really, truly, I mean, when someone at a home and they're not on vacation and say over a 2-week period of time, those news, say they get the Post and say they get the News Journal and they get the Tennessean or whatever, and in a week or two time, I mean, you've got a whole lot of newspapers out there, and it nothing against the newspapers, but it don't look good.
Well, these are the free ones. These aren't the ones you're getting. These are the ones that they want you to get. They're throwing them out there and all that.
There is a specific section on this, section 13B, which is on about page 4. There's an exemption for mail or newspapers, in that the provisions of this section shall not apply to the distribution of mail by the United States nor to newspapers as defined herein, except that newspapers shall be placed on private property in such a manner as to reasonably prevent their being carried or deposited by the elements upon any street, sidewalk, or other public place. So, I mean, they have some expectations on, you know, you wouldn't just throw them haphazardly, but they are exempt.
What if you have...
Even if you don't subscribe to it?
I think that's probably covered in here, but I didn't.
What if a neighbor subscribes to the paper, but then over a 2-week period of time, and I've had calls on this from my district, and they don't pick it up, but they should, and the next thing you know, you've got probably 15 pieces of paper, 10, 15, and sitting in a gravel driveway. Next thing you know, mud holes and papers everywhere.
The owner or person in control of any private property shall at all times maintain the premises free of
Right.
litter. We do have.
And
right
that
to cite-
would, what that
cite
would do,
someone
that would
doesn't-
fall on that
Yeah.
that
I mean,
person.
if a person on vacation 3 or 4 days, we're not going to
No.
do anything. But if it's going to be an extended period of time or not even inhabited, we would have to
Right.
see about cleaning up that piece of property. Those are good questions, and maybe try to develop those, write those questions down so that we can be a little bit prepared to address those. And I'll read this 2 or 3 times before next time.
Me too.
I know there's some problems out there in the community that do need to be addressed, and they need to give the code department and the planning department the teeth to be able to enforce it. 'Cause I know a lot of the rural commissions do have, get calls on it quite a bit as far as houses and subdivisions and stuff, junk cars and.
Another thing we need to take into consideration is the right of ways. When the county owns a lot of right of ways, if they don't go past the right of ways, will the county be liable? You know what I'm saying?
Pick up.
Right of ways, county got right of ways in certain areas, and if they don't throw it past that right of way, I mean, it would maybe come back on the county, so I don't know if it might need to be something put into that.
Okay, we'll give some thought here over the next month and revisit the issue. I guess we need to talk about later on rescheduling our next meeting. So anyway, we'll revisit our next meeting. All right, unless there's any other comments, then we'll move to the next agenda item, which is...
Do you want to do a motion to bring this back up?
Yeah, can we just not put it on the agenda for next month?
Normally people would do a motion to...
Oh, okay.
I'll move to bring it back up next month.
Second.
Motion. We have a motion to bring it up next month and a second. Any further discussion? All
Bring it up next month.
motion to bring it up next month. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. Private chapter number 56, House Bill 3972, Senate Bill 3931 regarding the county attorney. We have, as y'all probably know, received, back several months ago, we sent to the legislature a request that our private act be amended concerning the county attorney. That private act, the legislature accommodated our request and amended our private act as requested. I'm going to pass that along down the line there. So here's another copy of me. Quicker. So we have two items to consider tonight. First of all, the steering committee needs to consider adopting or ratifying this amendment to the private act. That's number one. And then contemporaneously with that, we also have the issue of the actual agreement itself. Just kind of refresh the committee's recollection. We had approved the agreement originally, and there were issues raised concerning the agreement, whether that agreement was appropriate given the fact that the private act had not been amended at that point. So deciding that the horse may be before the cart, that the cart may be before the horse, we went ahead and rescinded the agreement itself and asked the legislature to amend our private act first. So that has now been done. So we will consider that issue, and then on the heels of that, we'll talk about the actual agreement itself.
And, Becky, have you distributed this resolution?
But the one that's mailed out.
I'm not sure. Let me see.
So this is like what we amended, though, I mean, and sent to the
Yeah.
state, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What this resolution that's been mailed out is simply concurrently, basically, and you should have a copy. It enacts. You can read that, but the private act itself and the county, the agreement with the county attorney, both would be covered with the execution of this one resolution that's been prepared here at one time. Now, we know the private act requires a 2/3 majority vote, but this would just lump them both together, and both the county, the agreement with the county attorney and the private act would be actually adopted or at least voted on by the Board of Commissioners at the same time. So that's all this is doing, is putting back together the legal services agreement that's been previously approved by the steering committee unanimously, and coupling with that, now that we have this private act actually signed by the governor, bringing that back to the Board of Commissioners concurrently and together.
So it changes the private act and enacts the legal services agreement.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what I was suggesting that we do is you authorize this resolution to be put forth to the Board of Commissioners to do just those two things within the same document.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Really shouldn't be any debate at this point. I mean, we went through, we've changed it, we've sent it with the changes, they've approved it with the changes, sent it back. And now we're taking the approved document to the full commission, correct?
Correct.
All right. No further comment or discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Was that through? Recommendation to the full commission.
This same resolution will be presented to the full county commission. And if it's adopted, not only will the private act, if it's adopted by 2/3, the private act will be changed, but the new legal services agreement will be adopted at that time.
To be in effect, yes.
Okay.
All right.
And refresh my memory, when does that legal service agreement go into?
July the 1st.
July 1st.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, we need to reschedule our next meeting. I believe it's set for the day after July 4th, July 5th, right?
Yes.
Did you get dates from Vicki?
No? Was I supposed to?
Well, I believe you're going to have somewhat of an issue if you're going to get it in before the June 28th meeting. I don't know what business, unless you have to reappoint these committees, but, you know, we have regular commission June 17, and I think public safety has already
21st.
got the 21st, and then health and ed is 22nd, property management is 24th, so that leaves you
23rd?
23rd or 25th, and I don't have the budget meetings. Vicki would have those.
Well, the 23rd is, what, a Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Steve, is it?
We know budget's not on that day.
So they have no
Yeah,
meetings
budget we
that
do
week?
have on a Wednesday, 5:30.
On the 23rd?
We've got it down, now we
Okay.
may take it off, but,
That's true, you're okay.
and then next week's full. Because we have just budget this week on Thursday, and then next week, we got the public hearing and budget, and then the review the next night, and then the full commission then the 17th, like you said. Unless you do it Friday,
Is it 30th?
the week of the
What's after your
21st.
commission, you might as well wait till August.
Because the commission's is on the 28th.
Can we schedule it for the 23rd, Mr. Chairman?
It's going to conflict with budget.
Well, they've got something on there, but that doesn't mean that they're going to meet.
Yeah, we got budget at 5:30 there, I don't know, because we're meeting that next Monday morning then at 9, so we may have some final up, but I don't know. We've got it on our agenda right now, but we've canceled one already.
Property management going to meet?
They haven't met the previous two, so there's a probability they won't meet again.
That would be the 24th, right? Well, you want to put it on the 23rd with the 24th as a backup date?
Surely either budget or property management, one of them likely to not have to meet.
Property management met, it would probably be a really quick meeting,
Mhm.
so we could probably double up if we really needed to
Yeah,
on
that's
that
a good
night.
point.
And it meets at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Starts at 6 too, so.
So we
We'll put
could
it on
meet.
the 24th then?
Yeah, you can meet at 5:30.
If we've just got those two committees.
Or we can meet it, I mean, what about 5? Just in case we go a little longer. It gives us an hour.
That'd be fine with me. I'd probably prefer that, actually.
It may take a little bit of extra time if we are discussing this.
Yeah, we have this right here, because that may be the most lengthy thing that night.
Mhm. Okay. So you want to say 23rd then, and then 24th at 5 as a backup?
24th at 5.
24th at 5 is the primary. Okay.
Would it be advisable, I know this have to be approved, but ask the property management committee to move up till 5 o'clock? And then let this committee follow that?
Oh,
You'd have to do new notices to move it, wouldn't you?
yeah.
Okay.
Which you could. You're going to have to do a notice for steering
It'd be one
anyway.
anyway.
Mhm.
There's a possibility the property management committee will not have any agenda items and won't meet, which
That's
they
what I'm
won't.
thinking.
There's a
So it
good
wouldn't be a
probability.
conflict.
Yeah.
I think we just schedule it.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock? Okay.
Good with me.
5 o'clock on the 24th? Everybody good with that? All right. 5 o'clock on the 24th it is. Okay, any other business?
One thing, Mr. Chairman, back to this litter thing again. Is there not a Marks Car ordinance on litter? And is there one other city in the county that has a letter ordinance or not?
I don't think there's, I think Murfreesboro
That's it.
is the only one that has it, and I believe we checked that, I'm not sure. The Murfreesboro ordinance was the pattern from which this was drafted and drafted, with substantial changes made to that, but that's what we used.
Thank you.
Do I need to have one of the attorneys at that meeting?
I believe with the complexity of this, it would be wise to have one of the attorneys here.
I think that's a good idea.
All right, any other business? Not, we're adjourned.
Thank you.